We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome to the program an Alabama rock guitar icon who has performed with the likes of Brother Kane during the 1990s and would go on to play guitar for Alice Cooper, Thin Lizzy, and Black Star Writers. I welcome in the talented Damon Johnson. Damon, Brian C., thanks for being on.
Brian, what a glowing introduction, man. I am flattered. Thank you very much. How you doing?
Good. Hey, an honor to speak to a guitar legend, so thanks for being on, Damon.
Well, I appreciate that. I never have and never will consider myself a guitar legend, except for maybe my hometown of Geraldine, Alabama. Population maybe 1,700 people. So.
Well, I tell you, I mean, you do have an impressive resume. I can tell you that.
Yeah, so, there's no question, man. There's no doubt. My path has taken me some places I could have never imagined. You know, when I first fell in love with rock, rock music and guitar playing and all of that stuff, man. If you'd have told 14-year-old Damon Johnson, this is where I would be, into my fourth decade in the music business, Brian, I would not have believed it. There's no way you just couldn't fathom something like that.
Oh, there's no question about it. And like you mentioned, I mean, you've had an extensive career in music, and I figure we begin with your pivotal years in music during the late 1980s with the Delta Rebels, because that's really where your discipline to writing songs began, right?
It is, Brian. Yeah, man. I found myself in a new band. A buddy of mine had said, hey, you should go try out for these guys. The lead singer is a great songwriter, and he's a character. And R.T. Scott, the lead singer of the Delta Rebels, was most certainly a character. And, it was kind of like a down and dirty Southern rock meets AC/DC kind of thing. But, man, R.T. and I really spent a lot of time together. And he was one of the first guys to say to me, Brian, he said, Damon, there's a lot of talented guitar players in this town, in every town. You need to start also writing songs. And it had just never occurred to me to even think about writing songs until he said that. So it's crazy then to think that a short 3 years later, I had put what became Brother Kane together, and, we were in the record plant in Los Angeles, California, recording our debut record. So in that little short 3 years, man, I worked very, very hard and was very fortunate. There were some things that just sort of fell together to give me my start as a proper songwriter, in addition to being a singer and a guitar player.
Right. Now the American rock band, which you mentioned, Brother Kane, you co-formed, right, in the 1990s. And that's really, just reading your background where you took your name into another level, making your talents noteworthy, like on a national level. When you began that group, how positive were you that the group and the band was going to be successful?
Oh, Brian, I had no idea. None of us did. We knew it was going to be tough. There were zero rock and roll bands out of Birmingham, Alabama, on the scene in 1993 when the record came out. And as you can remember, that was the moment when Seattle and grunge music really changed the landscape of rock and roll, particularly at rock radio. So there was a shift that we kind of were a part of that worked to our advantage. Brother Kane was just a straight-ahead rock and roll band. There was nothing grunge or alternative about us, but the timing of it worked in our favor. And we had a couple of, big hits at rock radio. Got No Shame, That Don't Satisfy Me, Hard Act to Follow. Those songs didn't sound completely out of place on the same station that was playing Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden. So it helped us a little bit. But, that and our work ethic is what kind of, once we had a little crack in the door, Brian, where we could see some light coming in, like, hey, people like this song, let's keep working. We really stepped on the gas and just, we said yes to every interview. If they said, hey, will you guys come in at 7 a.m. and be on the morning show? We said, yes, we'll be there. So, that hard work really helped us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, Damon. Brother Kane, I mean, you found immediate success with the release, like you mentioned, Got No Shame, That Don't Satisfy Me, and Hard Act to Follow. And, I went back and I looked at the July 10th, 1993 rock chart, and it has your band, Brother Kane, with your song Got No Shame, beating out bands like AC/DC, Robert Plant, U2, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, you guys must have been riding high.
Oh, we felt incredible, man. Oh, we were overjoyed. We were starting to get to play some shows where we would open for some of our heroes. We got to open for Johnny Winter. We played with Buddy Guy. We did a couple of shows with the great Southern rock band Blackfoot, and that's how I met Ricky Medlock. And of course, there's a Leonard Skinner connection to that later. But shortly after that week that you're talking about, Brian, mid-July of '93, we were the first band on a triple bill. So it was Leonard Skinner, Bad Company, Brother Kane. And we toured all over the country with that. I think we did about 31 shows as the opening act on that. So we got in front of some classic rock fans. People were talking about us. It was an exciting summer, no question about it.
I mean, that's fantastic. So since we're on the topic of Brother Kane, let's talk about the 30th anniversary fully remastered release of your new album. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. This is, again, everything that's happening right now around Brother Kane, I could have never predicted it, Brian. Brother Kane, essentially, we made 3 records on the Virgin record label, and the last of those 3 came out in 1998. And due to all kinds of circumstances, we wound up, dissolving the band 2 years later. So Brother Kane's been essentially dormant for over 20 years. So fast forward to where we are now. I've got a great team around me. I've got an amazing manager who's helping me with so many things. And it was kind of his idea. He said, hey, man, you shouldn't forget about Brother Kane. Rock music fans most certainly haven't forgotten. And it turns out he was right, Brian. We've done a dozen or so shows over the last year in between my commitments with Leonard Skinner. And, it's just been so fun. That's really the only measuring stick that I have with this, man. As long as it's fun, let's do it. So great idea that the band and I had to put out the debut Brother Kane record on the 30th, this is the 30th anniversary of that album this year. We're releasing it on vinyl. None of those titles were ever released on vinyl in the 90s. So the first time fans can get that album on vinyl. I think there's 2 or 3 different variants, different colors. It's just a lot of fun, man. So to celebrate that anniversary, we've got a big tour coming up, starts middle of October. And it's going to keep us on the road off and on into early December. And, it's exciting. We're having a lot of fun.
Very cool. So for all rock music lovers and collectors of music, the remastered 30th CD comes with a collector sleeve and a limited collector card, right?
Yeah, man. So the CD is extra special because there are 2 previously never released. There are two unreleased tracks that we recorded in 1992 when we made that record. So there's 2 songs that no one's ever heard before that are going to be on the CD. We didn't have enough space to get those on the vinyl, but if you go to brotherkane.com, you can see all the different bundles and different, formats that we're releasing the record on. There's even you like this, Brian, there's even a retro cassette tape. When's the last time you bought a cassette tape?
That's so neat. So and also from what I understand, the orange and purple vinyl is limited to 750 copies, and the cassettes are limited to 200, and the CD is limited to 1,000. So these are really collector's items to hold on to.
Yeah, they for sure are, man. And if we still have some inventory left for those, and I know that we do. It can't be very many because, our social media pages have been really, filled with comments of people that are stoked and they've already pre-ordered, their version, whichever one that they wanted to get. So, man, it's just so much fun. It's just so much fun. And, it's good. Like I say, man, the band sounds great. I got a good team around me. Very grateful.
So I believe we have a couple of minute mix that we put together of Brother Kane. Let's hear it now for the listening audience.
Well, great.
Must come to an end. Yeah, we just ran out of road. You went your way and I went mine. The regret you feel is a heavy load. Boy, don't you doubt in those moments alone. I gave you my very best. Keep telling yourself what you want to believe. Are you still too proud to confess? Oh, but the truth is tricky and hard to find. Did you give it away? Did you leave it all behind? Are you in there anymore? Are you in there anymore, my friend? 'Cause that's getting hard to tell. 'Cause that's getting hard to tell. Are you in there anymore?
And you just heard Brother Kane, and the website is brotherkane.com. Be sure to check that out. And with us is Damon Johnson of Brother Kane. Nice job, Damon. Nice job. That's from the new release, right?
Brian, that was very exciting for me to hear that, my friend. That is, Brother KMET, that might be the very first time even snippets of those two new songs have been played anywhere on the planet, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, those are our two brand new songs, Blinded by the Sun and Are You In There Anymore? I'm so happy with how those things turned out. The band played great. I'm really proud of the lyrics on both of those songs. Yeah, that gave me goosebumps, buddy. Thank you. Say thanks to your staff there for putting that together. That sounded great.
No problem. Great job. And, so let's touch back a little bit about your career again. And because of Brother Kane, after you dissolved Brother Kane over the next 20 years, Damon, you went on to become one of the most sought after guitarists and songwriters in rock. How did you get involved with Thin Lizzy?
Well, yeah, man. So I had the amazing experience of playing guitar for Alice Cooper for about 5 years. And there was a concert that we performed in Dublin, Ireland. And the lineup that night was Def Leppard, Alice Cooper, and Thin Lizzy. And I've been a fan of Thin Lizzy my whole life. They were easily in my top 3 favorite bands of all time. So I was excited to get down to the venue early. I got to watch the band. I got to meet Scott Gorham and Brian Downey, the original members of Thin Lizzy. And it turns out that the second guitar player in the band at the time was the great Richard Fortus. And Richard has been in Guns N' Roses now for, 20 years himself. So, but he was playing in Thin Lizzy in between his activity with Guns. Someone told me that night, they said, well, Richard is going to have to go back to Guns N' Roses. Thin Lizzy needs a guitar player. And I just thought to myself, wow, man, that would be incredible to play those songs and to play them with Scott Gorham and Brian Downey. Well, little did I know, Brian, that one of my other Alice Cooper bandmates had spoken to the Thin Lizzy camp and said, you guys should get Damon. He knows those Thin Lizzy songs better than anybody. And sure enough, man, a week later, Scott Gorham called me at my house, and it was an exciting phone call, and I was so kind of blown away. And my next call was to Alice Cooper, and I said, hey, Coop, they've called me. What do you think? And he goes, Damon, you have to go play with Thin Lizzy. He goes, that's all you ever talk about is Thin Lizzy and Lynyrd Skynyrd. And, he was just so incredible, gave me his blessing. So that was 2011 is when I joined Thin Lizzy. And, that we toured for the next couple of years pretty heavily between North America and Europe. And then that band kind of morphed into a second project, which was Black Star Writers, which was also amazing because we were writing brand new songs. So just what an experience to get to write songs with Scott Gorham and get in the studio with him and, work up and record, awesome harmony guitar parts and all these great things similar to how Thin Lizzy used to do it. So, yeah, man, again, it's like some dream-like stuff for a kid from Alabama that grew up on that stuff.
Man, and I had on Alice Cooper's tour manager a while ago, and from what I understand, Alice Cooper is a very nice guy, very nice person, but he's very selective in his choosing bandmates. So he really saw something in you, huh?
Yeah, definitely, a gold star on my resume to get to play with Alice. He's always had a top shelf band. All of the guys that were in Alice's band in my tenure there are world-class musicians. And, of course, we've become great friends over that time period. And there's so much respect for Alice, his band, his manager, his family. A huge honor for me to pass the audition, and for him to pick me. And, I got to tour places around the world, Brian, that I just would never have gone otherwise had it not been for Alice. So, and it's extra fun too, man, because my kids, my wife, Linda, she and I have 2 young kids, and they essentially grew up backstage at Alice Cooper concerts, So to him, he's uncle. To my kids, he's Uncle Alice. And ironically, he's going to be playing in our hometown of Nashville next week. So I'm taking Linda and the kids. We're going to go down and see everybody. It's going to be a pretty fantastic homecoming. We're excited about that.
Man, so how does Damon Johnson get to join Lynyrd Skynyrd? That
happened for really the reasons that I mentioned to you a little earlier, Brian. I met Ricky Medlock when Brother Kane opened for Blackfoot in '93, and then I got to meet Gary Rosington and Johnny Van Zandt when Brother Kane did all those tour dates with them and Bad Company later that year and into 1994. So in 2021, Gary Rosington had what was essentially his second heart attack. And the band had about 25 tour dates that they had to cancel and reschedule twice already because of COVID. So Gary had given the band his blessing to see if they could find somebody to come in and fill in for him while he stayed home and recovered. So that call came from Ricky Medlock. He called me in June of 2021, and pretty quickly he got Johnny on the phone as well. So the three of us spoke for a bit, and they let me know what was going on, and were asking about my schedule. And, you know, I just put out a brand new solo record with my power trio. And, you know, I had some dates booked, and I've done a lot just to kind of get that music out there. So I feel really fortunate that we were able to move some things around and make the schedule work. And, so my first show with Skynyrd was in July of 2021. And the rest of that tour, Brian, whenever Gary felt well enough, had enough energy to come out on the road, he would come. And then he would either, you know, he'd get up like halfway through the set, or sometimes he would just come out and play the last 2 or 3 songs, you know, like Sweet Home Alabama and Freebird. Again, Brian, just crazy fantasy, how does this happen kind of stuff. You know, man, I won my high school talent show in the 11th grade with my little garage band, and we played Give Me 3 Steps. I mean, we won first place, and you know, if one of the teachers had said, "Hey, Damon, in 40 years you're going to be the guitar player in Lynyrd Skynyrd," I was just, yeah, that's not going to happen. There's no way that can happen.
I mean, that's unbelievable, Damon. I mean, you're part of American pop culture, rock history, playing with these bands. I mean,
yeah, man. I mean, look, I don't deny that it's definitely some rarefied air that I'm getting to travel in and have these experiences. I mean, I do know with confidence that they picked the right guy for the job. You know, Skynyrd deserved to bring in somebody that's a professional, that's got experience, that knows what he's doing. And I think they also knew, because of my history, that I would always be respectful to the legacy, to Gary and his family. You know, Gary Rosington is an icon. That's an icon right there, buddy. So, you know, as you know, sadly, we lost Gary in March of this year. Right. And, you know, the last conversation I had with him, he said to me that he knew that the songs that he and that original band created 50 years ago, man, the songs are bigger than anybody. He goes, man, these songs are bigger than me. They're bigger than Ronnie. You know, he says the fans are the ones that have given us this life and have made this music as special as it is. So it's pretty emotional stuff. You know, it's the circumstances of me being here certainly are not ideal. We would all rather Gary still be here, man, and still be doing what he loves with the band that he started as a kid. You know, it's all incredible. But it's no question, man, it's been the highlight of my entire career to be picked to stand. You can't fill those shoes, Brian, but you can stand next to that spot on stage and bring all of your musicality and professionalism to do the best job that I can possibly do. I'll never take it for granted, man. I still get goosebumps, man, every night. I had them last night in Saratoga Springs. I'm going to have them tonight in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no question. But, you know, we also have to remind the audience also your songwriting contributions, you know, to Stevie Nicks, Ted Nugent, Skid Row, Santana, Queensryche. I mean, you contributed to these bands. I mean, also on your resume. I mean, this is legendary stuff for me. This is legendary stuff.
Well, yeah, man. You know, whenever I kind of have a moment like this to sort of look at the big, you know, the 30,000-foot view of a 35-year career, I just, when I see those things or hear someone list all of those things, I just think of, one, how much I love music, and two, how much I have never let up on working hard, Brian. No surprise to you, I have a lot of like parents come to me and say, hey, my son is really interested in music. My daughter, she's singing, she's writing songs. How do you do it? That's a tough question. And I always say, look, I can only tell you what it was like for me. All I ever did was love music with all of my heart, and two, work as hard as possible. All those success seminars, that pop up on your Instagram or your TikTok, all that stuff is true, man. You got to show up early, stay late, be nice, work hard, say thank you. If you're going to be a songwriter, then you need to write 1,000 songs. And that's what I did, man. That's what I'm doing to this day. I'm always writing. I've never stopped writing. Once I became a songwriter after the Delta Rebels, man, I'm just always gathering content, and lyrics or melody ideas, and singing them into my phone. And, and the goal is, you never know where it's going to take you. You never know what it's going to lead to. You never know who's going to call on the other end of the phone and say, hey, man, we need somebody to help us. Are you free for this? Can you fill the spot in Thin Lizzy? Do you have a song that you could send to Stevie Nicks? She needs one more song for her new album. I was always ready, Brian. Man. When that call came in about Stevie, my songwriting partner and I said, oh, yeah, we got a great song. We're going to send it. She heard it. She loved it. She said, thank you. Can I put this on my record? We said, of course. What an honor. What an honor. Stevie Nicks is one of the great songwriters of all time, man.
Oh, forget it. But, I wish I could continue. I'm actually out of time. But, listen, thank you so much for your time, Damon.
Brian, thank you for yours, man. Listen, thank you for playing that new music. Thanks for sending your listeners, brotherkane.com. I hope we can get out there on the West Coast with this tour, because we're looking at next year as well to do some more dates. So all the best to you, Brian. Thank you for this time.
You too. My pleasure. The great Damon Johnson. Until next week, happy collecting to all.